Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. This is Wednesday, September the 7th. I am Lynn Morris.
And I'm Don Blackard.
And Don, I tell you what, a little disappointed. We had a great show lined up today, and things just happened. And Valerie Copeland, the Director of Public Relations at the College of the Ozarks. I feel like I know her pretty well because I've talked to her on the phone probably 3, 4, 5 times and over this past week, and we had everything set up for her to be on the show. College of the Ozarks is just a very special place in Missouri. It's down by Branson, Missouri. So a lot of listeners today know where Branson is all over this country and around the world. You know where Branson is. Just south of Branson at Point Lookout, a little tiny community is called College of the Ozarks. They call it Hard Work U. And it actually has about 1,440 students right now. And we're going to have Valerie back on because she needs to do the show, not you and me do a show on College of Ozarks. So we're going to talk about other types of school options and things like that. But I just want to mention, because I know that we had a lot of people that knows me. I know that we were really looking forward to talking about the College of the Ozarks because, especially parents and grandparents, because there's a lot of kids out there that are worthy of going to college, whether it be a 4-year college or a 2-year college, some type of technical school. I'm going to have you talk about the value of technical school and some of the skills that you can learn that you can make a lot of money and not have to ever go to a 4-year college. But, you know, these kids are worthy of going to college, but their families just don't have the money. And they can't even borrow the money. And so here it is, College of the Ozarks down by Branson, Missouri, is one of 9 colleges in the country. Out of 9, only 9 other schools or 8 other schools do this. Free tuition. You're going to graduate debt-free at the College of the Ozarks. It's pretty amazing to me. So between every student having to work, so they have to work to pay for their tuition on the campus. They have all these campus jobs. And then also they have donations. And that was one of the things that we were really going to get into. We were going to have Valerie share ways that people, and we'll still get her back on here, because there are ways that people around this country and world can actually donate to the College of Ozarks to help pay the tuition for these students. But they all of them graduate debt free. And one of the things, Don, I thought was really neat is the 5 pillars that they have. That is kind of like their basic things they want to make sure that every one of those students learn. And I'm just going to read those to you. Christian principles, my gosh, you know, all of us need that. And if we were a parent or a grandparent, we would actually really, really be proud that our kids and grandkids were learning Christian principles while they were in college. Academies, all the academic type studies. They have over 30 different degree programs. So that's amazing. Vocational. They realize that not everybody's going to be doing things on a 4-year college degree. So they have vocational skills in schools that they have. Cultural. Obviously, cultural is really important. And one of the things that Valerie told me was that they have students right now, this semester, from all 50 states. There is at least one student representing all 50 states in this country, and they have students from 10 other countries. So what a cultural exchange they're going to learn from all these other students and things like that. So that's pretty awesome too. And then how about this? Patriotic. Be a patriot, love your country, understand the history of our country, where we've been, where we're going, how we got where we are today. There's so many fantastic stories and miracles that where we've won war after war, and God was in all those miracles and enabled our military and our soldiers to win these wars. But to be patriot and to be proud of your country, the country you live in. And so they teach that. And actually, they're just getting ready at the end of this week, they're sending 150 students to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
It's part of their patriotic government type experience where they want students to actively go and see their government. And so that's a pretty cool deal too. So and you've been down there several times. For the people that don't know anything about the College of the Ozarks, they've got the Keeter Center. Do you like to eat at the
Oh,
Keeter Center?
absolutely. Yes.
They have this program where they develop uh, people that will be famous chefs someday somewhere. So they've got this culinary program where you can become a high paid chef. And so they have all their students, they prepare all the food for all their guests and their students, all their fellow students, but they prepare food every night, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And so people on vacation, can come to the College of the Ozarks and have a great dinner experience, a meal experience. And the students are waiting on you. They're cooking the food. They're preparing the food. It's just an awesome deal. And we, for special occasions, we go down there with friends and eat down there. It's just awesome. And then they have homemade ice cream. So it tastes just like the ice cream that you grind, the old type homemade ice cream. They have homemade ice cream in different flavors, and so you want to save some room for dessert to eat homemade ice cream after it's over. And then they have museums. They have all kinds of museums down there. They also have workshops where they do candle making and stained glass. Stained glass is something I did when I was growing up, and I still do a little bit of stained glass as a hobby. And they make beautiful candles and glass works, and then they sell them, and that helps to pay for their tuition. And they just have all kinds of things. They have a patriotic area. The museum is just awesome. The history that they have down there and stuff like that. So it's a great place to vacation and just visit while you're in Branson, Missouri. But we'll kind of stop there and just talk about other types of options, and we'll let Valerie come back and talk about that.
Well, I just want to say with College of the Ozarks, besides all the wonderful things of graduating debt free and actually building your skill set while you're at school and all of that, you're surrounded by other godly men and women.
That's right.
And I don't think you can put a price on what that is. I mean, most of the time when young kids are going into college, they're meeting their mate for the first time, all of that. College of the Ozarks doesn't allow some of the students to leave during the week. I think that's phenomenal. You should not have distractions. You should be there and be fully in the element. And then they get to come home on the weekends and all of that. But right now I have a friend, my friend's son, he's 20 and he is in his freshman year there and he's really enjoying it.
Well, I tell you what, yeah, you're exactly right. I hadn't even thought about that, but if you're a young college student, and a lot of people meet their life mate, they meet him in college, and what a better place to go than to go someplace like College of the Ozarks, where everybody is a like-minded Christian person that has got all their life ahead of them, and they've got it all straightened out, and that would be a good place to be looking for a wife or a husband. So yeah, that's a good thing. They also have athletic programs, and so again, you can play sports there at College of the Ozarks, baseball and basketball and things like that. It's just a great school. One of our pharmacists, one of the ones that was one of our best pharmacists that I've ever had in my 43 years, Billy Taylor, graduated from College of the Ozarks. He went all 4 years, 4.0 grade point average, straight A's, never made anything but an A. And when he graduated, he went to pharmacy school. So he still had 3 years left. So he got his PharmD degree and doctor of pharmacy. And he was absolutely one of our best pharmacists that we've ever had. And he came from College of the Ozarks. Another friend of ours, I was telling Valerie yesterday on the phone that Steve Cookson, he was from the area down there around Forsyth, Taney County, but he actually went to school. I didn't know this, but he went to school and graduated from College of the Ozarks. He also was a very popular, very successful teacher, who then became a state rep. He served with me for all 8 years, from 2012 to 2020. And when I was looking at famous alumni that's on pictures that they have, there was Steve Cookson. So I told Valerie, I said, now, Valerie, I know some of these people, that's these famous people. And I said, Steve Cookson, he and I served together. And I didn't know he was famous, So I thought that was really good too. So hey, while we're talking about school and things like that, let's talk about how you were at OTC, and what you were doing at OTC when the second plane hit. Let's talk about that a minute.
Okay, well, first, just to back up a little bit, when you and I were in school,
Right.
it was a lot more reasonable than it is today.
Oh yeah, it's.
I mean, the price of even a book or what a credit hour cost. I mean, just it makes us. It looks really good for what we ended up having to pay. But when I was right out of high school, I was paying for my first year at OTC, and it was community college, and it was still expensive just to get the books and all the classes and all of that. And I was sitting next to a reservist soldier who was wearing their uniform. And that's back when they were doing a marketing campaign that other soldiers could recruit new soldiers into the National Guard. And he was telling me that he was getting paid to be in school. He was getting paid to wear his uniform, and they were paying for his college. And so that week I was thinking, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of fun. And, I was young and adventurous and stupid in ways to think about joining the military. But then I'm a patriot, Lynn, and I was at OTC on 9/11, which is coming up.
Right. That's why I wanted to
it's coming
have you
up
talk
here.
About it.
And it was 9:00 in the morning, and someone ran into the room, and they just had the look of sheer terror on their face, and they screamed, "Turn on the television." And I was in an English class, and the teacher reached up, turned on the television, and we saw the second plane hit the World Trade Center. And I was sitting next to that student that was in uniform, and I was just like, that's it. I'm going to go join the Army National Guard and serve my country. So that's how it began. And then, the one thing about the military is you get the GI Bill, to where they will help pay for your college.
Right.
And something I did not know until recently is that if you're a soldier and you don't use your GI Bill, you can have your kids go to college for free.
Wow.
So I know people now that are doing that with their GI Bill, and I think that's really interesting. But you can choose to go to a program like the one we're just talking about and not have to serve in the military. But I graduated from OTC with an associate's degree, and then just immediately merged it over to Missouri State so that I could graduate from a 4-year college.
Right.
And,
and when you were in school, Don, because Cliff Davis, the president of the Ozarks Technical College, Richmond Valley campus in Ozark, he was here last week. And now, thank goodness, the state legislature has made it possible that every graduating senior in Missouri can go to the 2-year college free.
That's amazing.
So the tuition is free, paid by the state, and it's just such a great opportunity for all kids. I mean, there's a few little things. You got to make some good grades. You don't have to make straight A's, but you have to make good grades. You have to have good attendance.
Yes.
And you have to do some public civic type things. Do some nice things out there for the public and stuff like that. So public service and stuff. So you do those type of things, and you can get free tuition for 2 years.
Yeah.
So going back to you, so I just want people to know how proud I am, and I know your family is, and all your friends are. So, when you signed up for the National Guard, I'm sure that you didn't think about having to go fight a war somewhere, did you?
No, I mean, I've got that servant heart that I want to serve, and so I was thinking more tornadoes and
That's
natural
what the National
disasters.
Guard does. Yeah, the emergency type things
I
that
wanted
come up. The governor's going to call you up for active duty, and you're gonna take care of an area for a week or two, and then you're going to go back home.
Yeah, and I have to laugh that the recruiter said the Missouri National Guard hasn't been deployed in 50 years. So that was, a little bit of marketing, but it wasn't a deterrent for me to think about going and serving in something bigger. I just didn't realize that how quickly it happened from September 11th till the Iraqi war started.
So
I was in out of basic training and out of AIT for 1 week when they locked us in a room and said, you guys are deploying to Iraq.
so you were part of the engineering battalion?
Yes.
And all of a sudden you've gone through basic training, which is pretty tough too. I would think that'd be
dead
pretty
of winter in Oklahoma was tough.
and then all of a sudden they lock you in a room and they say, you're going over to Iraq.
Yeah, in 48 hours, pack your bags.
Yeah.
You're moving up.
And then how long did you spend over there?
It was over 15 months in a war zone.
In a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so not a good situation, but God saw you through that, and I know all our veterans. Thanks to all the veterans in this country that have served, and the people that are still serving today. I mean, this country would never be the same without our veterans and all the sacrifices that the veterans have made, as well as their family members. There's a big sacrifice. People don't think about this, but I know when I go around and give talks and things like that, not only do I always want to thank the veterans, but I always thank the family members. Think about the spouse and the children that are left behind, and they've got to function without their mom or dad. Most usually it's the dad, but it can be a mom, and just like you, and so they're having to take care of everything on their own. That is really, really hard to do, and I think scary. I think it's scary for your spouse to be thousands of miles away, and somebody's trying to shoot at them, and you're back home having to take care of every time they're sick, make sure they go to school, everything that you do. I think it's just an amazing thing. So another interesting thing I want the viewers to hear today is you and I have known each other for quite some time, and I belong to a group called Conservative Americans Club, and so we have speakers and we have programs once a month on a Saturday, and so I invited you to come and speak, and at the same time, Mary Byrne, who we've had on our show before, she's a very smart lady. Dr. Byrne had invited was it a colonel or general?
Yeah, Colonel Coots.
Colonel Coots from Jefferson City. And so she told me the name. I probably didn't even tell you who it was.
I think I was just so busy that I was just showing up.
And so you gave a great talk about your experiences over there. And then it was time for Colonel Kuntz to speak, and he got up. But when he was listening to you, he realized that that's one of my soldiers. That's one of my people.
Yeah, and I was one of 700 under his command. And
one of 700.
And only one of 80 females.
One of 80 females. And so you had some stories you could tell about him. But I think as he was telling his story, it's just like both of you just kind of started linking together and coming back full circle to where how you were back then when the war was going on. I thought it was so awesome.
Well, Lynn, that's what God does, is he is always orchestrating and pulling stuff together. And that was a God thing that he and I met up after 17 years because we lived so far away from each other.
Yeah.
And
and I had a little part in it because I invited you, and Dr. Byrne invited what is it? Not a general,
a colonel.
Yeah,
Colonel one step
Colonel
before
Kuntz.
a general.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and so and I know he goes around and gives talks around the area and stuff like that too. So that was an awesome thing. So
one thing that was interesting about my deployment was when I served, I was a young kid, and I served with a bunch of young kids, because what they did in the state is they decided that they were going to take all of the young people and they were going to make us into our own group. So we were Alpha Company. And so there was a bunch of us and we were all young. And in that deployment, we got to see what it was like to, really serve, hard work, sweat, blood, and tears, all the things. And so all of the young guys that I served with that were the very lowest ranking privates are all now medical doctors.
Oh,
and
my.
so they used that as a launching pad to have the GI Bill to help pay for school to then further their career into that. A lot of the young men that I was serving with that were electricians are now master electricians.
Wow.
So just to see how, yes, we served, but it really catapulted them into something else. And it used to be a big thing. How are you going to pay for college? It wasn't the responsibility of the parents. It wasn't. It was either you got a scholarship, you went to the Army, and now there's all of these options that people can do for school. A free 2-year program that gets you a little bit further down the road. College of the Ozarks, what they offer, leaving debt free.
Yeah.
So now people have a lot more options to get education than we did when we were younger.
Yeah, and I think it's so important today. We see the cost of living and honestly how to raise a family, what it's going to cost to raise a family, and so you've got to have a high quality, high paying job if you're going to have any kind of life at all.
Yeah.
And so
And college can teach you a big depth of education, but the 2-year programs teach you a skill set.
when we get back, we're going to be taking a break. And when we get back, I want you to talk about something that you're doing today that we know, there's a real shortage. And so for all the parents and grandparents listening out there, if you've got kids and grandkids getting ready to graduate from high school, you need to listen to what Don's going to say, because I'll tell you, I think it's extremely important. And another thing, Don, let's not forget, I want to ask you this and to be thinking about your answer. I was talking to a neighbor down the street last night. He served in the military, and so did he was in the Army, and his brother's in the Air Force. And both of us agreed last night that we think that young people today, and I know this will be controversial, and there'll be people who disagree with me, but we don't think it would hurt young people today to serve, say, 2 years for the government, either in a military role or public service, something in government, helping communities and things like this for a couple of years. It would help them also prepare for life and other job opportunities and things like that. But we'll get into that. But we're going to go ahead and take a break, and don't go anywhere though, because I need you all to listen to our 3 sponsors. We have 3 great sponsors, and the first sponsor is Brad Pistow, and he is a certified fiduciary financial planner located right in Ozark, Missouri. And you're going to say, well, I live in Kansas, I live in Arkansas, I live in Oklahoma. Well, that's okay. Brad is licensed in 3 states, Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri. But Oklahoma, he's got friends in Oklahoma. He's got friends in Texas. He has associates that he travels around and writes articles for USA Today. He travels and gives talks over the country. And he is probably one of the top financial retirement planners in the country. He's written a couple books called Safe Money Matters and also Bulletproof. You can get those books free. He'll send those books to you. All you got to do, pencil and paper, write this down, 417-581-9222, 417-581-9222. You write that number down, you call. Lisa Hunter will send you information, and it doesn't cost you anything to talk to him. And I'm telling you what, Janet and I use him for all of our retirement financial planning. And during this downturn with the stock market and the inflationary period that we're going through, we've not lost $1, and we've continued to gain in our retirement funds. So we haven't lost $1. We're still gaining in our retirement funds. You would need to talk to Brad Pistow and see if he's got some type of plan that he can help you with. And Hunter also sells securities, his son, and also sells Medicare insurance. And so can help you with Medicare insurance, because it's going to be enrollment time here real soon. And that's going to be another important thing. So Brad Pistow is one of our sponsors. He was our first sponsor.
Yes, very thankful for them.
Yeah, and very generous man. I'm telling you what, and our prayers are with Brad and Hunter and his family, because they lost their dad last week, and lost Brad's dad, and just kind of suddenly, and so we still have him in our prayers. The next sponsor we have is John Youngblood Motor, Youngblood Motor Group. That's John Youngblood and John Whittaker. We've had John Whittaker sitting over there by Don. We've had him on a couple of times. He is just a tremendous sponsor. They both are. And they have Youngblood Motor Group in Springfield, Missouri on South Campbell. And here's the deal. They got Nissan and Kias on one side. They've got over 150 used cars. A lot of them are premium used cars. They're the ones that have been certified. So they've been looked over and over and over. And when you drive them off the lot, something's not going to just happen, and doors going to fall off or something like that. So they really sell great used cars and new cars. So we recommend them. Their phone number is 417-882-3838. 882-3838. And the neat thing about them, Don, is somebody like you, and I say this over and over, but I'm really serious. Young people, and maybe some of the older people, can actually buy the car online. You never have to go to the lot when it's hot or rainy or whatever. You don't have to mess with a salesman if you don't want to. You can actually trade your car in online. You can buy your car. You pick out your car, the color, pick out everything. They'll deliver it to your driveway, and you can have 72 hours to play with the car. Put your wife and the dog and the kids and put everybody in the car. Drive to the grocery store, drive to the park, go to the ball game, whatever. And then if you like that car, you get to keep it. And if you don't like it, they'll bring you another car. I mean, they're the 43 years in business in Southwest Missouri, the longest family-owned car dealership in Southwest Missouri. So really another nice guy. And then our last guy, he was subbing for you last week. And
so thankful for Louie.
I tell you what, Louie Michael is,
and he did a great job.
Yeah, he is just an awesome man, and he is a realtor, and he works for the firm, FIRM, the firm down in Ozark, Missouri, and just a great Parham family business. I mean, the Parhams have been in business for probably 40 plus years down in Ozark, Missouri, selling real estate. Stan and Shirley started it. Now their daughters and son-in-laws and all their kids, and got a bunch of great agents selling for the firm. And so Louis Michael is one of them. And every time that he makes a sale, whether you buy a house or you sell your house, he takes a portion of those proceeds and he puts them into his nonprofit, Choosing to Live. And one of the coolest things, Don, is when Lou was on the show one time, not too long ago, we decided, I kind of decided for him and he went along with it. But if you buy a house or sell a house with Louis Michael, he's going to come and do a block party for you. He is probably one of the top Elvis performers, imitation performers in the country. He actually won first prize out of 250 contestants in Nashville. He's won all kinds of things. He goes around and still performs, and he's just a great guy, and he sounds just like Elvis. He'll make a great party, so that way you can meet all your neighbors and stuff like that. And but Choosing to Live is a great organization that we help him with, because he wants people to choose to live, not to die, and so not to commit suicide. And so really three great sponsors. And we're still, I think I'm almost ready to name my fourth one.
All right.
And so we're hoping that will happen anytime this fall. It's a family-owned business, and so that's the type that we like, and stuff like that. But let's get back to what we were talking about
with community colleges.
With community college, and the fact that you're doing something now that you wanted to do for a long time, and you found out that there's an extreme shortage of people that can do ultrasounds. Now you're having to work overtime. You don't get a day off. You just started a job at one of the hospitals in Springfield, Missouri, and now all of a sudden you realize that, hey, I'm working night and day. We need to recruit some people, and the hospital's a little bit worried about it. So,
well, there's a lot of wonderful careers out there, Lynn, that unless you get immersed and you talk to people and you hear, what they like about their job, I think it'd be really tough to be a young kid and, not know all of your options. The best thing anybody could do is pray that God opens up the right door and puts the right path before them. And that's what I had done. I had graduated with a 4-year degree, and I thought I was going to be a lawyer, is where I thought I was going to go.
You'd be a good lawyer.
And then my mom started touring the world and doing talks. And so I got very intrigued into the healthcare side and started following in her footsteps. And one day, I have residual income from promoting health products and different things that I've done. And I had quite a bit of time on my hands. And I just told the Lord, one day I'm going to have to give an account for my time. And I'm doing the best I can to use it for your glory. But if there's something that you want me to do, or you want me to go back to school, then I want to use my time the best I can. And so just like that, I started looking at PA programs at Missouri State. And for anybody who is unfamiliar with becoming a PA, it is fiercely competitive. They accept thousands of applications at Missouri State, and about 40 get in.
Wow.
And so it's very hard to break into that.
A physician's assistant.
A physician's assistant. It's one of the hardest careers to get into. And I was talking to the dean, and he said, you would be the first health educator we ever let into the program. And he's like, you should really, just think about, is there anything else that you want to do before you do this? And so I was praying, and God opened the door that I would get to do a on-the-job training to become a cardiac sonographer. So I spent 2 years next to a sonographer who's worked for over 30 years and just got to absorb that information and look at about 1,500 hearts, and then took my boards. And then now I have my first job working as a cardiac sonographer. And it's a very rewarding field. It's very hard field. But now that I'm working with other sonographers, I'm learning how they got to this path. And the old school sonographers all went to a 4-year college for it. And then now I'm learning that there is 2-year programs all over the United States for ultrasound. And so, there's 2 years programs that you can be a welder and make over $100,000 a year. There's 2-year programs you can get into ultrasound and make more than people realize. So, there's dental programs. You can be a dental assistant. Those are usually about 2 years. And so people need to be looking more at the 2-year programs, because in 2 years you're working. And you don't have this monstrous amount of debt that's holding over you from a 4-year if you go a traditional 4-year college. So I would love to speak to schools. We're going to have Ozark School on next week. We're going to talk about that. And I think after people hear more about what Ozark schools are doing, they're going to want to call the firm and get a house in Ozark.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I tell you what, it's one of 5 schools in the United States looks like that has these new academies, career paths. I mean, I'm excited to hear about that. I was on the school board many years ago, so I'm not responsible for this new program, but awesome, the fact that my wife graduated from Ozark, our 3 children graduated from Ozark, and now Ozark is stepping up and doing something to prepare the young people for the future.
Well, to entice them to see if it's something that they're even interested in. That's what I love about it is, you hear people ask little kids all the time, what do you want to be? What are you going to do? And they're like, I don't even know what I like. I don't know. I really like that the hospitals in town, and wherever you live, your hospital probably does this, but we have rotating students who just come through the hospital. They spend a couple hours at different departments, and they get to see, I do like this. And I was actually with this phenomenal sonographer. She's a traveler. And I asked her, how did you get into this? And she said, well, I was in high school, and I got to go around through a hospital. And she's like, I quickly figured out nursing was not for me. But I really liked ultrasound. And so just kind of to hear, and she had went to a 2-year program.
In Springfield area, Medical Explorers, is what they called it back then. I don't know what it's called today. So I was in Medical Explorers. So I did exactly what you said. We'd go to pharmacy, we'd go to radiology, we'd go to lab. We went to all parts and facets of the hospital operation, and it's all different. It's all very interesting. If you like science and you like people, you want to help people out and stuff like that. But Medical Explorers, there's got to be something like that in most of the communities around the United States. I would try to get your kids and grandkids involved in that, and that would be an awesome thing. So you're willing to be able to give talks on sonography and ultrasounds and things like that. We got to check with Cliff Davis that was on last week, this president of the Ozarks Technical College in Ozark, and see. I think they do have a 2-year ultrasound program. We got to make sure, because that's something that we definitely need, because if the hospitals in the Springfield area are needing that, then OTC needs to meet those demands. And that's what I think is so good about these technical schools throughout the country, is they're trying to keep that pulse of what the business climate needs. And so if they got a new business, maybe a factory coming in, and they need a whole bunch of welders or electricians or whatever, they're going to train those people, because that's what you need to do. And I'll tell you, Janet and I, when we went on our Alaskan cruise a couple weeks ago, and we met each night. You know how you used to go on a cruise and you'd always sit at the same table every night with the same family members or same people. Well, this cruise, we had signed up that we wanted to sit at a different table every night. And that way we'd meet new people. We met a couple from England that just absolutely, the man and woman was just awesome. And we had so much fun with them. And they were about our age, and we just hit it off, and it was just an awesome trip because of those two people. But one night we met this young couple, and they weren't married, and they were dating, and he was an electrician. And not just an electrician, he was really a very smart, high-trained electrician, but he worked in the solar industry, and he actually had 2 homes. He lived in Maui, Hawaii, and he lived in Utah, and his girlfriend is in Utah. And so they have to travel back and forth to see each other, and they were on this cruise together. But I was thinking, got a house in Maui, that's probably not cheap. And then he's got this place in Utah. That's probably not cheap either. And then he's got to pay for going back and forth to see his girlfriend.
Oh, Lynn, I have an electrician friend who owns his own electrician company, and he makes about $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, a top surgeon,
yeah,
makes just a little bit more than that. So people just don't realize the entrepreneurship that you can gain.
So I want the kids, I want parents and grandparents to understand. I know that when I was going to school, because my parents had never gone to school, so we've reached another generation. So a lot of the kids now have gone to college, okay? And so their parents hadn't gone to college, or their grandparents hadn't gone to college. But all of a sudden now, I think people need to realize college is not for everybody. A 4-year college does not necessarily mean you're going to make a whole bunch of money.
No.
You're going to be successful. We have a lot of people now trying to figure out how to pay their college debt off and stuff like that. That's why College of Ozarks is so good. That's why Missouri's program with 2 years free tuition is good, stuff like that. I know a lot of states that's watching today would wish their state legislature would do something like that. But no, they haven't. So Missouri is unique in the fact that we do take care of our families and students and provide 2 years of free education. But we're going to be wrapping it up, so next week, Don, we are going to have Ozark High School. And I think Dr. Craig Carson, he's assistant superintendent, he will be there. And I'm hoping that the principal for the Ozark High School will be here. So they've got a brand new program. It's just starting this year. This school semester, it just started. They're actually having a ribbon cutting. I'll let you know.
Oh, I'd love to come.
It's in October. I think it's October 17th, but next week they'll tell us when it is. And so they're going to give tours to the public to see this tremendous thing, because they actually have bought an old building, a gigantic old building, and restructured it into a school. And were all these different career paths. So they call it academies. And so you got all these different career paths that really help students from junior high school through high school to kind of decide before they get out of school what they'd really like to go ahead and study and prepare to be later on in life. And so I think that the sooner you get all that figured out, the more successful you'll be. And when I used to give talks to kids, I would always ask them like this, how would you get to Dallas, Texas from Ozark, Missouri? And some of them would kind of try to tell me how they would get there. Well, today we could use GPS, so we could cheat a little bit. But back then, when I was giving those talks, you had to use a map. So you had to have a road map, and you had to kind of follow the lines. And if you have a plan, you can get there. But if you don't have a map or you don't have a plan, most of us would never make it to Dallas, Texas.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
so I think that's what I kind of relate to career opportunities, is that you need to have a plan. You need to have a purpose. And it's okay to change your plan. But I tell you what, you won't waste so much time, because now time is money. Every time you're paying for a 3-hour course, the tuition is so much per credit hour that it's very expensive to do all that. And so we're going to talk about that. We'll continue to talk about it. We're going to continue to talk about homeschooling. Homeschooling is still continuing to be a tremendous phenomena here in the United States, where more and more families are choosing to homeschool their kids. Less kids go into public education today. And what do we need to do to make our public schools better? I think Ozark's going to tell us next Wednesday what they're doing to prepare their students and make their school better. I challenge all the public schools to try to do the same thing, is to try to make sure their school is preparing the students, and not indoctrinating, but preparing the students for a tremendous future ahead. What else do we need to say today, Don?
Well, I would like to give a shout out to one of my friends. It's her birthday today. I have two friends that it's their birthday today.
Okay.
So one, her name is Carla Bradley, and she is a social media influencer. And so you can go find her on any platform, Instagram, Facebook, under the Bradley Bunch. Happy birthday to Carla.
Yeah, happy birthday.
She's about to announce the gender of her 9th baby. And she is someone you want to follow. They have adventures, and it's just a really fun person. And that's a career path people don't even realize that's now available, is to be a social media influencer, social media manager.
Wow.
It's something that the younger kids are getting into. And then Jen Mitchell, Macy Mitchell's wife.
Oh, okay.
That he is in charge of Republic and the growth that's taking place in Republic, Missouri.
Of the Chamber of Commerce in Republic.
Yes, and his wife is just a doll. So happy birthday to Jen. And if you guys ever want us to do any birthday shout outs, or you have something going on in the community, Lynn and I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, we'll talk about calendar. So very quickly, Brad Jackson, the mayor of Ozark, and myself will be doing a town hall meeting this Saturday from 9 o'clock to 10:30 at the OC in Ozark, Missouri. We're going to talk about city things and county things, and hope the public comes and asks us a few questions. So it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be beautiful weather, and they say by Sunday and Monday we're going to be in the 70s, low 80s right now, and so we're great weather. Hey, we appreciate everybody for listening in today, watching, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Have a great week.
Family, they dream this land stays free under God, not tyranny. That's what it means to really dream. 1, 2, 3. Can I get a hoorah from a patriot like me?